Hi everyone, Kumar Data Train here with Agile Meridian, and this is for our, I don't know what episode this is in our SAFE series, but on our Agile Shorts, we're up to episode 61, I believe, or 62. You'll see it in the intro, of course. And in this episode of SAFE, we hear a lot of reluctance, criticism, I guess, in the marketplace. SAFE is too complex. It's overwhelming. I don't know where to start. Even the picture is difficult. It's so busy. It's, oh my God, we could never do this. And so we, in this episode, aim to hopefully alleviate some of your fear, simplify some of the complexity that you may see or feel when looking at the SAFE big picture, or talking to a SAFE consultant, a coach. And so with me again is my buddy Chris Daly. We're both SPC. So Chris, initial reactions to that criticism that we hear? Oh my God, this is so complex.
Yeah, I think it is. It appears to be complex because when you look at that chart or that one pager, right, that's got all the different levels on it and all the different roles and everything, it can be overwhelming. Absolutely. And if you take when you go to your implementation and you start doing it, the natural feeling is that we want to do it all at once. Right? We want to start everything at once. And that can be a lot of change for a lot of different people. It's bad enough that you're changing and adopting typically Scrum or a Kanban team. You're adopting a new methodology, but then you put on these requirements for PI planning and for, the improvement life cycle and the system demo and all those things that go on now that are perceived to be additional overhead. It can be overwhelming for sure.
Yeah, you talk about the configurations in SAFE, the 4 configuration levels, the essential SAFE, the large solution, the portfolio level, the full SAFE. What applies to me? If I'm a company trying to adopt an Agile way of working and I've decided to go the SAFE level, what do I choose? And I don't know about you, comment on this, Chris. What I often say to organizations is start small. Start with the smallest slice. Maybe it's a business unit within your organization. Start there. Start with one value stream or a part of a value stream. And if the value stream, the people that are working in the value stream are new to Agile, then you don't even have to start with SAFE. Start with basic Scrum or Kanban or however the team operates. And then once you've mastered some of the teaming that's required for an Agile way of working, then you can introduce more things to that business unit. Again, SAFE is about scaling Agile, and doing it all at once can be really overwhelming. And so it may be worthwhile taking a very measured, staged approach to that.
I've actually had some success with, you've got a team that you want it to be part of a release train. I've actually had some success starting that team as a Scrum team and work through that period. Give them the 3 months of a PI. Give them that time to just become a Scrum team. And in that 3 months, they're going to have 6 sprints if you're doing 2-week sprints, and let them get comfortable with that, and then start talking about the PI planning and what their role is and all that. I found that really helps, and it reduces the amount of change that they're accepting at any given point in time. There's still a big amount of change that they've got to accept, but you're spreading that change out. So it's little incremental changes as you go. And, as we all know, Scrum's a big change in and of itself. It's really hard for teams. And so by doing that, you break it up and you let them focus on, let's become a team. Let's work well together. Let's not throw them into a PI planning, a brand new team into a PI planning and say, hey, you're going to plan what you're going to do for the next 3 months. That just doesn't work. I don't know if you found the same or what you have experienced.
Yeah, I think similar to you, it depends on the organization. Some organizations have made the decision that they're going to go SAFE. And so they bring in an army of consultants and train everyone up, and SAFE. And these people may not have had any experience with Agile in the first place. And so it's a challenge. It's a real challenge to get them ready to execute in a manner that is that's aligned with an Agile way of working. But okay, so then the first PI is essentially the program increment is wasted because they're just sort of learning. There is some merit to that approach, train everyone and just go. As long as the organization is prepared for a rough start and they're not expecting a whole lot of output from these teams in that first PI. And that's where things get a little challenging, because lots of times organizations, the reason they're investing in Safe and Agile in the first place is because of the promise that Agile brings of quicker results, better outcomes. And after that first PI, they're like, oh God, what happened? These guys were all operating at this level and now they're here. How do we get them back up here? We thought we're going to be up here, but they're actually down here. And that's that's a big challenge. But typically after the first, second, maybe the third PI, the teams start to get better. They often meet or surpass their prior performance. But it can be overwhelming, right? I mean, just learning Safe can be overwhelming for a team or people on a team that have never been exposed to Agile.
Yep. It's almost like for organizations that think we're going to continue to produce at the same level and we're going to adopt Safe at the same time. It's kind of like trying to change a tire while you're rolling down the road. Right? I mean, it's very, very hard. And to your point, there's expectations that we're going to implement Safe and immediately things are going to be better. And that's not, they may be better from a communication standpoint, from a transparency standpoint, from a, alignment standpoint. We might start moving toward alignment, but that doesn't necessarily translate into outcomes immediately. Sometimes those outcomes take 3 months, 6 months, 9 months to get to. And the other thing that is out there that a lot of organizations don't understand, that when you're going to, it doesn't matter whether you're going to Safe or Less or Nexus or pick your scaling methodology du jour. You're trying to change the organization. If you expect the organization to remain the same, right? Leadership doesn't change. We don't change our outcomes. We don't move from focusing on work to outcomes. You're not going to be successful. It takes about 18 months for an organization to really absorb a cultural change. 18 months to three years. So you've got to give Safe time to be able to go. You've got to give your people an opportunity to come through and transition through and accept that change, eventually embrace that change, and then become evangelists for that change. And it just takes a while. And I think a lot of organizations, the Safe's going to be the silver bullet for me. So I'll quit ranting and let you have a shot.
Well, I was just thinking that, in a way, we're agreeing with the criticism that Safe is too complex and for an organization to adopt successfully in a relatively short period of time, which most organizations that are spending the resources to implement Safe in their organization are probably expecting results quicker than they can rightfully expect. And so in a way, it has to be done well from the start. Right? So the Safe coaches, the consultants that come in, have to temper expectations, have to work with leadership, have to set the right level of expectation, and of course, support from leadership. Leaders can't just write the check and walk away. And we've talked about this in other videos, not just on the Safe series, but our Agile Shorts as well, that leaders need to think really hard and long about what is it that their expectations are. And as I mentioned earlier in this video, think of one business unit that they can start this with. Maybe it's starting with Essential Safe in that one business unit, the one business area, a small steel thread. And I'm borrowing this language from Xscale, which is like it or not, a descaling framework. So rather than scaling, we're trying to descale and give power to the people that are doing the work in a way. So you're sort of centralizing a command structure, but decentralizing decision making to the teams that are doing the work. And again, these things can work in parallel. Safe is a great framework and borrows a lot from Scrum and Kanban and others. And rather than try to start it all at once and implement some configurational level of Safe that maybe you're not ready for, start small. Start with Essential Safe. Start with a small steel thread with committed leaders and invest in starting the way, training the teams, making sure that they understand their role as a team, and then the role as a team of teams. As you start to expand the number of teams that are working towards a product or a service, understand how the interplay of now a larger number of people is going to affect the outcome. And so that requires good coaching, good leadership, and capabilities that the organization may not have right away. So you have to be prepared for that. So I've gone on a rant. I'm going to stop. Chris, your thoughts?
I agree. You want to reduce the scope. You don't want to go forward and just make it everybody at once. You don't want to do the Big Bang Theory. No pun intended toward the show, but you don't want to go out and just have everybody switch one day. Start small, start with a business unit, and then grow it from there. I think that's a great way to start. I think it also helps if you will use the terms that SAFe uses. Use those before you go to SAFe. I know the Scrum Guide talks about the daily Scrum, the sprint planning, the sprint review. Those things are all iteration planning, iteration review. Start using the language and the terminology and try to use it in the right way. That also will help. If you're consistent in your language, that makes it easier for people to absorb that change. Again, just recognize that not everybody's going to be at the same spot. Not everybody's going to accept the change as quick as what you might. So I start small if you can. Find that balance between, getting to the outcomes that you want quicker, but also taking into account the human side of it, your people.
I agree. Just a plug for our disruptor method that could be also a great catalyst for any sort of transformation like this. Our disruptor method actually works with a small catalyst team to form that steel thread. And so that could be the start, the catalyst for a larger transformation using SAFe or another scaling or descaling framework, whichever it may be. And so if you want to learn more, visit our website. And you'll find out more information on that.
Nice plug.
Any other thoughts here? Simplifying the SAFe model for consumption?
I think practice what we preach. Going back to your point, we want to make sure that we're doing things that add value. We're doing things in small changes, seeing what works, what doesn't. I think if you take that agile approach, it doesn't matter whether you're SAFe or less or any other scaling framework. If you do it over time and you're constantly trying to improve, I think you'll get there as long as you keep that in mind. And that would be the only thing.
Thanks for that, Chris. So this is going to be an actual short episode. Well, we're going to end here, and so we'll see you in a few weeks with our next episode on the Scale Agile framework. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye. See ya.